Everyone, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Madeline Alegria, and I am an analyst on the Philanthropy and Impact team at Giving Compass, and I am so excited to talk to you today about our first pilot research study on the effect of video on donation readiness. To provide some context for the purpose of this research, I'd like to give you some background on Giving Compass. Giving Compass was founded in 2017 by Jeff and Tricia Rakes as a lab within the Rakes Foundation. Early in their giving journey, the Rakes met other donors who faced challenges finding targeted resources to guide a values-aligned and community-inclusive and effective giving strategy. With over 100,000 monthly users, Giving Compass exists today as its own entity, as a donor education and technology platform, and we have started to take a behavioral approach to helping donors be more thoughtful and impactful givers. By aggregating data on the nonprofit sector, including nonprofits, articles, and sector content, video, issue funds, and volunteer opportunities, we strive to guide donors to be more, to give more frequently, and to be more effective donors. We do so in partnership with a number of sponsors, including major donor advised fund providers and community foundations, as well as other donor intermediaries. In February of this year, we surveyed 88 active DAF donors. For those who might not be familiar with a donor advised fund or a DAF is a tax-advantaged philanthropic vehicle that allows donors to make an irrevocable contribution and receive the immediate tax deduction. As these accounts grow over time, donors can then recommend grants out of their donor advised fund to support their preferred 501c3 nonprofits. You can think of these accounts as individual endowments that are housed at banking institutions or community foundations. DAFs are the fastest growing philanthropic vehicle, representing over 17% of charitable contributions in 2022 and accounting for over $52 billion in public sector funding. DAFs are extremely popular amongst the ultra-high net worth and sophisticated donor population, with an estimated average household income of over $1.3 million. Not only are DAFs popular amongst the ultra-high net worth donors who use DAFs tend to rate themselves as more knowledgeable about philanthropic issues. However, as DAFs continue to explode in popularity, the democratization of workplace giving DAFs and low and no minimum DAFs, as well as wealth transfers, are changing the landscape of who a DAF donor is. Nearly half of DAF accounts in 2021 had assets of less than $50,000, and the top 1% of DAFs hold roughly 60% of all DAF assets. Because Giving Compass works with a number of DAF providers who are interested in encouraging DAF donors to use their accounts more frequently and to give to a more diverse range of causes and organizations, we are uniquely curious about the intersection of technology and DAF donor behavior. And so we've launched this pilot study to see if or how the presentation of different types of content could influence DAF donor giving preferences. So all 88 of our participants are individuals with a DAF account who reported making a donation using their DAF account within the previous year. They ranged in age from 26 to 72, with the average age being 44, and with 56% of participants being male. And so part one of this study involved a live 20-minute survey where we asked donors to tell us about their most recent donation experience and their DAF habits. We asked participants a number of questions that you'll find in the report, including how and where they made their last donation decision, how they researched nonprofits or causes that they typically give to, and we asked them to talk to us about what an impactful organization meant to them. And so we find a whole lot of really interesting information, including this breakdown of how these donors are using their DAF accounts to research nonprofits or causes. And so we see a large proportion with word of mouth, a good proportion with Google search, and another specific chunk that's coming in through a specific issue area or cause area, a lot of nonprofit ratings, social media, and then a smaller portion of financial or philanthropic advisors, as well as through nonprofits themselves. And really only 3% of these sophisticated donors are telling us that they do not research at all. We also get a whole lot of qualitative data about these donors and about their stories and about the things that they are looking for when they go to research a nonprofit and give to. So we see this donor here who made a donation to an LGBTQ organization in her community, because that is an issue that is really dear to her. And so she's really researched a lot of causes and organizations in this issue area in her community. We also see a lot of the donors who tell us about their most impactful donation. And so this donor tells us a story of giving to an organization that's helping young writers of color get their material published. She talks about inheriting the DAF from her mother, who passed away, and who was herself an immigrant and cared very deeply about the cause. And so she tells us that though her mother was elderly and in declining health, her death was still somewhat of a surprise, and she was not expecting her to go quite so soon. So she was really looking to find an organization that she could give to using her DAF to honor her mother's wishes. So we see a lot of really great data about the stories that donors are telling us about the causes and the issues that they care about. We're seeing that they care really deeply about giving small and local organizations to giving to organizations in their issue area. And yet, when we poll donors about what their most recent donation was using their DAF, we find that the majority of donors are giving to national organizations. So we found that 57% of donors were giving to a national organization compared to only 43% who were giving to a local organization. And a lot of them cited that they did not know where to find effective and local organizations. And that really when it came down to it and they were ready to make their donation using their DAF, all they could really think of were a lot of the big names and the major players that come to mind, which is great because these are great organizations that are doing fantastic work. But Giving Compass is really trying to get donors to consider giving to more grassroots, local organizations that are really having a large impact within their community and doing so with a small budget. And so the second part of the study, after we asked these donors to tell us about their previous their giving habits and where they made donations last, we then had the donors find their preferred nonprofit using Giving Compass. So they were asked to choose their favorite nonprofit, and they read text information for that organization. So they read information like the mission statement, some very basic financial information, the location, etc. We then asked participants to watch a pre-selected 40-second video on an after-school nonprofit that was working on arts education. We asked the participants to watch the video and to read similar biographic information, including the mission statement, the financials, and some basic information in that regard. And then after both conditions, we asked the participants to rate whether they had enough information to donate and what additional information they would need. And so the video really just tells us, it was a 40-second video. It described the founding story of the organization. It showed the faces of some of the participants and program staff. It talked about what the programs were doing. It was talking very briefly about some of the outcomes of some of the students. But really, it was just briefly describing what the program and its missions and its founding story were. And we found a 15% increase in the donors' willingness to donate after watching the video compared to reading text for their preferred nonprofit. And so this is really significant because what we find is that even though donors had seen a nonprofit that they had preferred to give to already, it was an organization that they had selected for themselves that was in the issue or cause area that they told us that they cared about most, that despite that, watching a video for a different nonprofit that was not selected by the donor, that the donor had no connection to previously, they still were more willing to give to that new organization, 15% more willing to give to that new organization than they would be otherwise to their preferred organization. And so we think that that has great implications for organizations who are looking to expand their reach to a new donor audience, that really a small video could have such an effect on attracting new donors. And so not only do we find that they are more willing to donate to this organization after watching a 40-second video, we also find that they are requesting less information about that nonprofit to us afterwards. And so you see a significant decrease in the number of information that's requested. So we see a 11% increase in the number of participants who said that they do not need any additional information, that they are ready to make a donation now after watching the video. We see a decrease in the number of donors who say that they do not need any more visual information like pictures or videos. We see a decrease in the percentage of participants who are telling us that they want to speak to somebody at the organization. A significant decrease in the number of participants who are telling us that they are requesting less program information. Another decrease in the number of participants who tell us that they want to do additional research on the organization, and another decrease in the number of participants who are looking for testimonials from program recipients or other donors. And so what did the video do? Like I said previously when we were describing the video, it was really a simple video, 40 seconds of the organization's founding story, its programs, and some of the outcomes from the programs. But really, you just see the faces and the faces of the participants and the program staff and the founder. You see some of the facilities. You see just very simple biographic information about the organization. But that was enough. We see a large percentage of the donors say that they are able to see the organization's impact, even though a lot of the information that was being described in the video was the same as what they could read in a mission or financial statement. We also see almost a quarter of the participants say that they thought that the program staff and the founder were credible, that the video was professional, that they wanted to learn more, that they saw that the organization was equitable and inclusive, that the organization was growing, and really only 2% of the donors said that the video had no effect on them at all. And so we really see just an overwhelming persuasion in the donors, and what we think this could be attributed to is an increase in perceptions of trust. After watching the video, the donors were more likely to trust the organization and trust the effectiveness of the organization's programming. And we see that not only in the survey responses from the donors, but it's also in some of the stories that they were telling us. So this donor says that they felt more of a connection to the organization and they were more likely to donate because of it. They felt that they knew more about what they were doing, why the organization was doing it, and who was involved. A lot of donors really commented on having a face that they could put to the organization, and that it really helped them internalize just how cool the programming and how effective the programming of the organization was. And of course, a lot of donors might not be ready to pull the trigger on a donation after watching a brief video. But what we did find is even amongst those donors who told us that they weren't ready to donate yet, that they really did feel like there was, they felt more compelled to research the organization or consider the organization and investigate further. And so in conclusion, we find that even amongst the most seasoned donors, such as donor advised fund donors, this is really a sophisticated population of donors who are serious about maximizing the impact of their philanthropic donations. But even amongst this very specific donor pool, we find that including a short video can increase engagement in causes and organizations that donors might not have already considered. That video highlights the organization's founding story, its programs, and shows the organization's impact, can really engender feelings of trust between an organization and the donor, and that perception of increased trustworthiness makes donors significantly reduce the information that they request before making a gift. And so this is really just the pilot of what Giving Compass is starting to do with its research efforts. This is the first of its kind pilot study, and it's not going to be the last. We are already in the midst of planning and launching our next study. We have since expanded our advisory committee. We've partnered with 6 practitioners and academics who are helping us to develop our approach and research methodologies. And we are expanding our sample size to all donor types, anybody who has given at least $500 or more in the last year for philanthropic contributions. And our next research study will involve making a real donation decision. And so we are really excited to share our findings for this first report with you. But also, we're looking towards the future of what this could mean and continuing to explore how technology can intersect with donation behavior and donor behavior, and how we can continue to connect small and local grassroots nonprofits with donors who are looking to support causes in their issue area and in their hometowns. So thank you so much for joining me today. You can scan this QR code to get access to the full report. And thank you again. This has been really great.